I stood in my sister Olivia's kitchen on Thanksgiving Day, holding my plate of turkey and stuffing, watching as the successful members of my family gathered around her elegant dining room table. The tablecloth was imported lace, the china was Wedgwood, and the crystal glasses sparkled under the chandelier light. But there wasn't a place setting for me. The dining room is for successful people, Olivia sneered, adjusting her Cartier bracelet. You can eat in the kitchen. That's more appropriate for your status. I glanced at the kitchen island where my plate sat alone. Through the doorway, I could see my parents already seated at the main table, pretending not to notice their younger daughter's exile. My brother-in-law Bradley, a junior partner at his law firm, smirked as he poured expensive wine for everyone except me. If only they knew that I owned the building where both Bradley and Olivia worked. Let me back up and explain how I got here. 5 years ago, I was working as a commercial real estate analyst at a mid-sized firm. The job was fine, but I saw something my colleagues missed. The downtown business district was about to explode. Tech companies were moving in, driving up demand for office space. But the old buildings needed serious updating. I took every penny I had, my savings, my 401k, even my emergency fund, and formed Vista Properties LLC. My family thought I was crazy to leave a stable job for some risky scheme. Another one of Sophie's impractical dreams, my mother had sighed at Sunday dinner. When will you grow up and get a real career like your sister? Olivia, who had just been promoted to senior accountant at Marshall & Reed, nodded sagely. Not everyone can handle corporate success, Mom. Some people just aren't cut out for it. What they didn't know was that I had already secured investors for my first property acquisition. I had spotted a neglected Art Deco building in the heart of downtown, the Kingsley Building. It needed work, but the bones were solid, and the location was perfect. The current owners didn't realize its potential. I bought it for $12 million, using a combination of investor funds and a carefully structured loan. My family thought I was working as a small-time real estate agent, showing apartments to college students. I let them believe it. The renovation took 8 months. I modernized everything, the lobby, the elevators, the electrical systems, while preserving the building's historic charm. The tech companies came calling before we even finished construction. Then came the coincidence that would make this story so deliciously ironic. Marshall & Reed, my sister's accounting firm, was looking for new office space. Their lease was ending, and they wanted something prestigious, something that would impress clients. The Kingsley Building was perfect for them. Of course, they never knew that the owner they were negotiating with, the mysterious Vista Properties LLC, was actually the sister Olivia loved to dismiss as a failure. They signed a 10-year lease for 3 floors. The day Olivia proudly announced at family dinner that her firm was moving to the most prestigious address downtown, I had to excuse myself to the bathroom to laugh. But I wasn't done. Over the next 4 years, I acquired 6 more properties in prime locations. Each one was carefully chosen, beautifully renovated, and quickly filled with high-paying tenants. My net worth crossed $100 million last year, though my family still thought I was barely making rent. I kept driving my old Honda, wearing off-the-rack clothes, and living in a modest apartment. Not out of necessity, but because I was curious to see how long my family would continue treating me with condescension. Which brings us back to Thanksgiving. I sat at the kitchen island, eating my turkey in solitude, while listening to my family discuss their impressive careers. Bradley was bragging about his corner office in my building. Olivia was talking about her firm's prestigious address, my building. My phone buzzed quietly, a text from my property manager. Inspection complete on Marshall & Reed floors. Multiple code violations found. Should we proceed with lease termination warnings? I smiled, typing back, hold until Monday. Let them enjoy their Thanksgiving. Sophie, my mother called from the dining room. Since you're in the kitchen anyway, could you bring us more wine? I stood up, walking to the wine fridge. Behind me, I heard Olivia stage whisper to Bradley, "At least she's good for something. Someone has to do the serving." I grabbed a bottle of their precious wine, remembering the lease termination papers sitting in my office, already prepared with my signature. The signature they would see in exactly 1 week, when they learned that their prestigious office space was no longer available to them. "Here's your wine," I said pleasantly, placing the bottle on their table. "By the way, how do you like the new elevators in your building? I heard they just got upgraded." Oh, they're wonderful, Olivia gushed, not even looking at me. Much better than what you must have in your sad little apartment building. I bit back a laugh. I had personally selected those elevators, right down to the marble flooring and brass fixtures. They cost more than Olivia's annual salary. More turkey? My mother asked Bradley, completely ignoring my presence now that I had served my purpose. Speaking of buildings, Bradley said pompously, "Did you hear that Vista Properties just acquired the Preston Tower? Now that's a successful real estate company, not like some people's little rental agent jobs." I nearly choked on my water. I had closed that deal yesterday, $50 million for one of the most iconic buildings downtown. The announcement wouldn't be public until next week. How did you hear about that? I asked casually. I have connections, Bradley boasted. High-level business information you wouldn't understand. I nodded thoughtfully, pulling out my phone again. Another text from my property manager. Preston Tower closure complete. Congratulations on the acquisition, Ms. Walker. Sophie, if you're done hovering. Olivia cut in. The kitchen needs cleaning. We successful people would like to enjoy our dinner in peace. I returned to my exile in the kitchen, listening to them congratulate themselves on their accomplishments. Through the window, I could see my driver waiting patiently in my Bentley, hidden around a corner where my family couldn't see it. In 1 week, they would learn that the sister they banished to the kitchen owned not just their building, but half the premium office space in downtown. Their lease termination notices would arrive on expensive letterhead, bearing the signature of the owner they'd been paying rent to all along. Sometimes success isn't about proving people wrong immediately. Sometimes it's about waiting for the perfect moment to show them exactly who they've been looking down on. 1 week after that humiliating Thanksgiving dinner, I sat in my real office, the entire top floor of the Kingsley building. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the city I largely owned. On my desk sat 2 stacks of documents, lease termination notices for Marshall and Reed, and a second set for Bradley's law firm. My intercom buzzed. "Ms. Walker, the courier is ready to deliver the novices." "Send them out," I replied, checking my watch. 9:15 a.m. Right about when Olivia would be settling in with her morning coffee. I pulled up the security camera feeds on my monitor. Camera 12 showed Olivia's office, where she sat smugly reviewing files. Camera 14 showed Bradley's corner office 3 floors below, where he was probably billing clients for hours he didn't work. At exactly 9:30 a.m., the courier arrived on their floors. I watched as identical envelopes were delivered to both offices. Olivia opened hers first, probably assuming it was something routine. It wasn't. I zoomed in as her face transformed from casual disinterest to shock to pure panic. She grabbed her phone, probably to call Bradley. On camera 14, I watched him answer, then frantically tear open his own envelope. My phone started ringing almost immediately. I let it go to voicemail, enjoying the show on my monitors as Olivia paced her office, face growing redder by the minute. Then she did exactly what I expected. She called our parents. I switched my office phone to speaker and dialed my mother's number. She answered on the first ring. "Sophie," she sounded breathless. "Thank goodness, something terrible has happened. Olivia and Bradley just got eviction notices from their building. They need your help." "My help?" I kept my voice neutral. What could I possibly do? "You work in real estate. You must know someone who can help. They can't lose their offices. It would ruin them." I leaned back in my chair, watching Olivia's increasing panic on the security feed. "Tell them to call the building owner. I'm sure Vista Properties would be willing to discuss it." They tried. No one will connect them to the actual owner. "Please, Sophie. I know we're not always kind to you, but they need help." Interesting, I mused. Last week I wasn't successful enough to eat dinner with you. Now I'm suddenly useful. Silence on the other end. "Tell them to come to the top floor of their building at noon," I said finally. "The owner of Vista Properties will meet with them." "The top floor? But that's the executive suite. They've never been allowed up there." "Exactly," I smiled. "See you at noon, Mom. Don't be late." I spent the next 2 hours watching the chaos unfold on my security feeds. Olivia made dozens of calls, each more frantic than the last. Bradley paced his office, probably realizing that no other premium building downtown had space for either firm. What they didn't know was that I owned those buildings too. At 11:55, my security team alerted me that my family had arrived in the lobby. I watched them huddle by the elevators, Olivia, Bradley, and our parents. They looked nervous, probably never having been invited to the mysterious top floor before. Send them up, I instructed. The elevator doors opened directly into my office suite. My assistant met them with a professional smile. Ms. Walker will see you now. Walker? My mother frowned. But we're here to see the owner of Vista Properties. The doors to my office swung open. I stood behind my desk, enjoying their expressions as they took in the vast space, the prestigious view, and finally, me, Sophie. Olivia's voice was barely a whisper. What are you doing here? Welcome to my office, I said calmly. Please sit down. We have some matters to discuss. Your office? Bradley sputtered. This is the owner's. Yes, I cut him off. I am the owner. Vista Properties is my company. Has been since I bought this building 5 years ago. The silence was absolute. My mother sank into a chair, her face pale. My father seemed to have stopped breathing. That's impossible, Olivia finally managed. You're just a small-time real estate agent. I pressed a button on my desk, and the wall behind me transformed into a digital display showing my property portfolio. 8 premium buildings, including their precious Kingsley building, with a total value exceeding $400 million. While you were mocking my career choices, I said quietly, I was building an empire. While you were bragging about your prestigious office address, you were actually my tenants, and while you were making me eat Thanksgiving dinner alone in the kitchen, I was signing the papers to acquire the Preston Tower. Bradley's jaw dropped. The Preston Tower. But that was Vista Properties. Everything is Vista Properties, I confirmed, and Vista Properties is me. I pulled out the lease termination notices. Your firms have violated multiple building codes. According to your lease agreements, that's grounds for immediate termination. You can't do this, Olivia whispered. We're family. Family? I laughed. Was I family when you banished me to the kitchen? When you called me unsuccessful? When you treated me like your servant? My mother stepped forward. Sophie, sweetheart, we didn't know. That's the point, Mom. You never bothered to know. You were too busy worshipping Olivia's mediocre career and Bradley's junior partnership to notice that I was building something extraordinary. I stood up and walked to the window, looking out over my city. I'm not terminating your leases. They let out collective sighs of relief. But, I turned back to them, I am tripling your rent, effective immediately, and you'll be moving to different floors. Those corner offices you're so proud of? I need them for tenants who don't treat people like second-class citizens. Triple? Bradley choked. That's impossible to afford. Then I suggest you start looking for new office space, I smiled. Oh wait, I own all the premium buildings downtown. Funny how that works. Olivia started to cry, her mascara running. Please, Stuffy, we'll lose everything. Like you lost your humanity, your kindness, your ability to treat family with basic respect. I sat back down at my desk. You have until the end of the day to decide. Triple rent in smaller offices or find space in the suburbs. Either way, I expect you'll be more careful about judging people's success in the future. And one more thing, I added as they turned to leave. Next Thanksgiving, I'll be eating at the main table. In fact, I think I'll host in my penthouse apartment. The view is spectacular. After they left, I watched on the security cameras as they walked back to their soon-to-be former offices. Their shoulders were slumped, their arrogance finally shattered. My phone buzzed with a text from my property manager. New premium tenant interested in those corner offices. Should I schedule a showing? I smiled, remembering all the times Olivia and Bradley had bragged about their prestigious corner views. Yes, I replied. Tell them they're available immediately. Sometimes success isn't about proving people wrong. Sometimes it's about letting them discover just how wrong they've been, preferably while sitting in an office they didn't know you owned. That evening, I drove home in my real car, a Rolls-Royce Phantom, to my real apartment, a 2-story penthouse overlooking the city. On my coffee table sat the formal invitation I'd have printed for next year's Thanksgiving dinner, complete with assigned seating. Olivia and Bradley's seats, by the kitchen door, of course. After all, some people need to learn what it feels like to be kept away from the main table.